public housing infrastructure that we had previously. So, right now for public housing there are 1,477 people on the waiting list. 14 of 15 sites have closed waiting lists, meaning no one else can be accepted. More than 85% of residents waiting for public housing earn less than 10% of the median income, and CHA plans call for the redevelopment of remaining public housing sites into mixed income communities. Now, what that means is that you're going to see a continued increase in a continued decrease in the amount of public housing in Chattanooga. What that means is that on top of the already burdened situation, we're going to have more competition for the affordable housing or the limited affordable housing that does exist in the city. Now let's talk about homelessness. Homelessness, the information here has been compiled by the Chattanooga Blueprint to End Homelessness. This is mostly taken from a document that was compiled with the help of the city and a number of researchers in 2007. What they found was that more than 4,094 individuals experience homelessness each year in Chattanooga. There are over 1,000 homeless children in public schools. Each night, an estimated 400 to 500 individuals sleep outside or in shelters, with nearly 100 of them in families. 2006 UPC survey noted that 21.4% of the homeless were working at the time of the survey, and 40% had been employed within the last 6 months. Gentrification, Section 8. Section 8 housing and the voucher program to help and aid with private landlords that are willing to accept them. There are 1,200 landlords in the program in Chattanooga. 250 new families are expected to be to be added in 2012. There are currently 3,140 people who have vouchers. 100 or over 100 can't find apartments to let. And this quote here is taken from an article from the Times Free Press in December 2011. A looming 14% reduction in rental payments combined with a booming private rental market threatens the agency's ability to land new landlords and keep the ones it has. The demand for rental property is so great that it merits an increase in rental rather than a decrease. Don't forget about affordable housing. This is a competition for the race to the bottom. And what we mean by race to the bottom, we mean that in order to land money, in order to meet the desires of developers for profits, we are competing, and we're competing with other areas. We're competing for the greatest amount of return on investment that can be offered. Now, the effect can sometimes be in this that without regulations to preserve or promote affordable housing, there are no safeguards against gentrification-based displacement now and in the future. That means that without an actual remedy to this, we can see this trend continue and continue with more burden being placed. So, inclusionary zoning. How inclusionary housing ordinances work? The municipal code mandates set percentage of low and moderate income units. How would that be compiled? A task force works with developers to achieve a double bottom line: housing affordability and a reasonable overall return on investment. Now, different cities, different municipalities, they do this in different ways. This is the point where you become as creative as possible in order to match the needs of developers, the needs of those who are trying to build affordable housing, with the need for the goals that you have as a city, the goals that we have for the amount of affordable housing that we're wanting to see. So some of the range of cost offsets, some of the ways that people who are building housing can be helped is by density bonuses, meaning that we increase the affordability, we increase the amount of income or housing units that can be built on one property, as long as that increase is based for affordable housing units. Unit size reduction, design flexibility, fee waivers and reductions, fast-track permitting. And we'll talk about some of those in a second. Achieving deep affordability is one of the ways that we're hoping with inclusionary zoning that you can help some of those that are on the bottom of the income levels. That's by applying public subsidies on top of the affordable units to make sure that they are affordable to the lowest income brackets. Cost offsetting measures to achieve a double bottom line. Fee waivers and or reductions. An example of this is in Longmont, California. Longmont waives up to 14 fees if affordable units are provided. Comes out to 3,250 units for single family residents or $2,283 for apartments. Also, the option of fast track permitting in Sacramento, California. They expedite the permitting to 90 days from the usual 9 to 12 months. Average savings were shown to be $250,000 per project. Mandatory inclusion ordinances work. More than 200 communities in the United States have some sort of inclusionary zoning provision. And a 2010 longitudinal study focused on 28 communities and found no negative impact on market rate development. So the city of Franklin, Tennessee, as of 2010, in order to increase the supply of affordable housing, the city requires developers to provide affordable housing if seeking a density bonus in planned unit developments. According to the ordinance, developers must allocate at least 10% of the total units that exceed the project's original density towards affordable housing. City of Nashville right now, there are efforts currently underway to adopt mandatory ordinances. In Chapel Hill, North Carolina, the folks in Chapel Hill are very excited about inclusionary zoning to the point where the city itself has actually posted a specific website that explains inclusionary zoning and also explains models and ways that it can be adapted to other cities. They are more than willing to help. On June 21st of 2010, the town of Chapel Hill enacted an inclusionary zoning ordinance that mandates a set-aside percentage of affordable housing for new residential developments. Projects proposing 5 or more units will provide 15% or 10% of the town center of the units at prices that are affordable to low and moderate income households. Boulder, Colorado, which is commonly compared to Chattanooga, they realized at the turn of the century that optional program wasn't working. The voluntary inclusionary zoning, voluntary was not working for them, so they changed to a mandatory inclusion. The task force also set goals for both low income and moderate income households for how many units would be built. Progress to date for the 2010% goal of increases to affordable housing. The goal is 4,500 affordable units. As of December 2010, the city's affordable inventory included 2,995 affordable low to moderate income units and 100 middle income units. In the last 10 years, another approximately 1,200 permanently affordable units were secured for a total of 2,995 affordable units, including shelter and group home beds in the city. So the city has achieved 67% of the housing goal, 24% of those affordable units are ownership, and 76% of the affordable units are rentals. Montgomery, Maryland, Montgomery County, is often held to be a pioneer in establishing inclusionary zoning policies. It is the 6th wealthiest county in the United States. Yet it has built more than 10,000 units of affordable housing since 1974, many units door-to-door with market rate housing. All municipalities in the state of Massachusetts are subject to that state's general laws, Chapter 40B, which allows developers to bypass certain municipal zoning restrictions in those municipalities which have fewer than the statutorily defined 10% affordable housing units. A 2006 study found that 170 jurisdictions in California had some form of inclusionary housing. This was a 59% increase from 2003, when only 107 jurisdictions had inclusionary zoning. In addition, state law requires that 15% of the housing units produced in redevelopment project areas must be affordable. So all of this to say that this is not something new. This is not something that hasn't been tried, but this is something that is on the increase throughout the country. People are seeing it and that are seeing that it's worked.